So it's very rare for a contract manufacturer to own a brand. I mentioned New World being an exception with the hard candy line, but generally speaking, it's very rare for them to do that. You run the risk of losing your major customer base who view you as competing directly with them. So the answer is no. Intercos did not own a brand, or does not own a brand.
Okay. Okay. But does Intercos offer the services that Mesa does with respect to creating creating a brand from scratch, essentially? Or
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Sure. There's no question. Well, one of the things that Intercos was attempting to do was to do kits. A lot of, you called it lipstick color kits or eye makeup kits, and we did a big business for years with Victoria's Secret on all of their holiday kits, and that business was lost because Victoria's Secret basically pulled out of that business and went into more bath and body type items. At one time they did have a cosmetic line, as you know, so they moved out of that business and basically concentrated on higher margin type items like bath and body type products, BOGOs and things of that nature. But yeah, can Intercos create a brand from scratch? Absolutely, sure.
Okay. So then, so if that's the case, so Intercos and Mesa can both do that. Let's say I'm a retailer. Let's say I'm Whole Foods. This is a random one, but let's say I'm Whole Foods, and I want to create like a natural cosmetics line. And it's obviously I don't possess the capabilities in-house to do that. What would I do? Like, what would where would I begin? Who would I talk to? Like, what would be? How many people would I talk to? What would the process look like?
Well, from my experience, Claire, there are advisors and experts. I'm thinking of Roxanne Paulson, for example, based out of Chicago, who works directly with retailers. Could be mass retailers, could be specialty retailers. And there are other people who are experts in the field. And in some instances, you'll get somebody like a Whole Foods who'll say, I know nothing about this business. I know nothing about contract manufacturers. And, I want to hire an expert who can guide me through this process. So let's say in the case of Whole Foods, that's basically what they would do. They would look for an individual who's highly skilled, who knows the players in the marketplace, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and have them work on a consulting fee basis or bring them on as a permanent employee and have them actually help them put together a line along with the aspirations that the retailer may have, i.e. natural and organic or vegan-based formulas as well. So that's one way of doing it. The other way would be if somebody within that particular retailer knows a little bit about the contract manufacturing business, and they would then perhaps reach out to those CMs, set appointments up, bring in what you and I call a new product brief as to what direction they want to take, what kind of strategy they want to use, and then have those particular CMs meet with them, or they would actually come to something like Makeup New York, for example, which happened, I guess, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, where you can meet different vendors in a semi-convention type atmosphere. Generally, most CMs, Claire, have what they call Market Week twice a year to introduce fall and spring. And generally speaking, they'll send invitations out, inviting existing clients, emerging brands, potentially new clients, to come to their showroom, assuming they have one, set up qualified appointments, and then basically take that particular client, existing or new client, through the process. Sometimes it's really around innovation and formulation. They may have new packaging ideas to show. They may have a breakdown between color and skincare. One of the things that Intercos would do is that in their showrooms, they would have a separation So if you were just a brand, that's definitely a plus. On the negative side of that, you have to remember that a brand success, regardless if it's done through an incubator or social media, is all based upon takeaway. And takeaway has to be sustainable based upon how the brand is marketed. And if the brand is not marketed through social media per se, and it's marketed only by in-store presence, the life cycle of that brand is not going to be long-term. I'll give you an example. Having met the Hatch Beauty team, working directly with Costco on Jenna Hip and also with Patty Duboff, both of those brands cease to exist right now in Costco. They had a very short life cycle. And the reason behind that is you need to be able to continue to have the consumer focusing in on the brand. It's not a matter of just putting it in a retail store and hoping that based on impulse sale that the brand is going to sell. So it's really about sustainability as it relates to how do you create positive sell-through, how do you sustain the brand image, what's the message you're trying to get out to the consumer, and how you can sustain the repeat business. So beauty incubators basically don't have the budget to do that. You know, it's really something that they're not capable of doing because, you know, their strength is, as you mentioned, as an incubator. But who's then going to fund the actual brand itself to continue to have the consumer focusing in on that brand and the uniqueness of the brand? So maybe you as an investor at some point, if you're adding capital, or if you're adding something of value, you may have to want to look at how do you sustain the takeaway of the brand over and above what the beauty incubator has been able to do. And that requires extensive social media. It requires some degree of advertising per se. So those are the things that, you know, you have to be aware of, Claire, when you're looking at those incubators. Now, I think in the case of Drew Barrymore, you know, she has made some public appearances. You know, you will see her on some of the late night talk shows. So, you know, there is a presence there. Is it consistent? No, but I think it's enough to sustain the brand at retail, at least for the time being. Some of the other brands I'm not really sure of if they can be sustained through beauty incubators, you know, unless there's a lot of support behind the brand.
So then what happens to, okay, one last question, because I know I've used up so much of your time.
Okay.
What happens to flour in 3 years, right? Like, so, you know, like you said, Walmart doesn't really market it, Mesa doesn't really market it, you're not marketing it. Does it just kind of have a slow death? And then does Walmart restart all over again with like a new celebrity, someone that's younger, or, you know, like a fresh face? Do they start all over again with a different brand? Because I'm not sure we've seen like the life cycle of these exclusive brands yet.
No, I think that's a good question, Claire. It's been my knowledge that whenever you have a house brand, and that's a house brand, control label, life cycle, and I've done a lot of business with short life cycles, maybe 8 to 10 years maximum. If you get 10 years out of a brand, you know, I would consider that to be successful. CVS looks at it from the standpoint of 6 to 8 years. I've done a couple of skincare brands, dermatological brands. I've got maybe an 8-year run at CVS. Now, does Walmart then find somebody else who's younger generation and hip? I think it's going to be hard for them. I really do, only because that's not where shoppers are going. That's the key. And, you know, you've seen it in fragrances over the years where a lot of these celebrities have very short life cycles. But in the fragrance business, you can introduce a new fragrance every year to anniversary the volume because there's always somebody you can partner with. That doesn't mean it's going to be successful long term. There aren't too many Chanels in the world or what have you. So what does Walmart do in 3 years after the brand kind of peters out? I don't know. I don't know. I still think it's going to be hard for them to capture that younger customer. I really do.
Got it. Okay. But maybe, I guess, okay. If it was a different retailer So it wasn't Walmart.
Yes.